Hello, everyone. Welcome to another new episode of ESL Talk. First of all, just want to say a big thank you, as always, for your responses and for your interactions on the previous episodes. We actually put out two episodes last week. The first one was the EAP reflection from a student, a case study, which was really insightful, and I think we all learned a lot from that, and thank you for your comments and feedback on that episode. And then obviously talking about our journey and talking about what we do as teachers and building our brand and building courses. I did also share that episode about the online IELTS program for teachers, and that's been really well received. So thank you for all your interest and for reaching out to me to find out more about that. If you are still interested in signing up, please do feel free to let me know, and I can talk about the next steps as well with that. But for today, we are going to be talking to Tim, the online teacher dude, and we're going to again be really focusing on his process of building a business online, helping teachers online, really working with teachers to help them get started with teaching in the online space, focusing on the skills that they need, the ways they can be successful, how to differentiate themselves, and also some advice that can really help you if you are a new online teacher or you've been teaching online for a while as well. We'll also kind of discuss a bit of an update on the state of ESL teaching online at the moment as well, because as we know, there's been quite a few changes with a lot of the companies or platforms that teachers traditionally taught on. And obviously on this podcast, we always preach about trying to go it alone, try to build your own brand, try to build your own presence, have your own image and your own kind of, brand online. So this is really important. So this is something we're going to discuss a lot with Tim today. And Tim, again, has a lot of really great resources. So if you're not familiar with him, just simply search the online teacher dude. He has a lot of really useful videos and material on YouTube and on Facebook as well. He does also host weekly webinar sessions with different guests from the world of online ESL as well. So you can definitely check that out and learn a lot from it, as well as our interview and our conversation with Tim today. So again, just the regular notices before we get into today's interview. First of all, if you haven't already, feel free to follow us on Instagram at ESL Talk Podcast. We also have launched our YouTube channel now where you can get all of the previous episodes on there for free. Just simply search on YouTube ESL Talk Podcast and you can find our channel, you can subscribe, and then you can get all the latest episodes as they are ready. If you prefer that method, I know some teachers do prefer that. So you can also follow us on YouTube as well. Again, just a quick shout out to our sponsor, Crystal Clear ESL, where you can find 600 plus interactive off-the-shelf learning materials for your ESL classes. Really simple, really beautifully designed, very, very easy to teach from. If you would like to get your free 2-week trial, just simply visit esl-curriculum.com, get access to them, and you can use them across all aspects of online English teaching, whether you're teaching speaking, writing, IELTS, business, and conversation skills. We've got you covered. All right, so that is the mandatory announcements out of the way. Let's get into our interview today with Tim, the online teacher dude, find out a little bit about his story, his journey, how he was able to transition from an online ESL teacher to helping teachers and working with teachers and building a brand and a business online. Here we go. All right. Hello, Tim. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Hey, Daniel. You're very welcome. Good to be here.
Yeah, good to see you again. We've had quite a few interactions already, and it's good to finally get you on ESL Talk as a guest today.
Yeah,
So Tim, let's get started. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you became the online teacher dude?
Sure. So, yeah, it's a kind of a neat journey. I guess it started when I became a teacher, and I taught for several years in Canada, and then I moved overseas and never really planned to stay overseas for very long, but I was doing really well in international schools and teaching in China, Malaysia, and then I got burnt out, as many people do in their careers, and I wanted something different. So I was looking at online teaching as kind of maybe a bridge to something else, but also just a fast way of being able to get into the sort of making money online space. I had dreamed about ways to make money, and nothing really was sticking. I tried blogging, I tried, sort of freelance type of stuff. And it wasn't until I found online teaching that I really saw that this could be like a longer kind of career, I guess, in terms of working from home. But also I saw lots of opportunities to support teachers in that, because I had already been sort of teaching online for a few years before it sort of became popular. And I enjoyed it, and I knew that there was potential to scale it. I just was so busy with my teaching job that I could never have the time to do it. So yeah, so it all started there. And then I decided to make a YouTube video helping teachers to get hired with a company that I was with. And initially, I really saw a lack of representation of men teaching online in the YouTube space. So that was like one thing that I kind of focused on in the beginning. And I called myself the online teacher dude, and it stuck. And I hated it for the first like year. But then it just sort of became my brand, and I've never changed it.
You embrace it now, Tim. Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So that's how it sort of all happened. And
that's
that
awesome.
was the name of my channel. Yeah.
Great. So again, more than ever, especially the last few years, a lot of people are teaching online now as opposed to in person, with obviously, COVID-19 pandemic and everything that happened there. What would you say are the main benefits, and what are some reasons why you believe, teaching online is a better option for many teachers?
Right. Well, I would say for sure that, it allows, time and flexibility. That was one of the things that I wanted when I initially quit my teaching job. Was I wanted more time to do things that I enjoy doing, and I wanted flexibility, and it provided all of that and more. And so, that's really the key benefits to it. It also allowed me personally to use what I was trained to do and what I was doing in my job that I burnt out in. And I'll say that the burnout was not from the teaching. It was more from all of the extra things, right? Like all of the paperwork, the just the pressures from parents, and all of the extra stuff, and working really, really, really hard. And, yes, making a good income, but not having the same kind of control over my life that I wanted to. So that was those are the benefits for sure. That's really why I got into it. But it provides, a lot of really wonderful things for a lot of people who are needing a change and maybe wanting to get started in doing something else. And like I said, I applied, I could do what I was doing teaching, but charge my own rates and work at home. It was pretty incredible.
Right. That's what it's all about. And I agree. I was in the same boat as you. The teaching part I loved, but it was all the other stuff that wasn't connected to teaching, which was making me really not enjoy what I did, which is why, again, I branched out. And I think a lot of people can also resonate with that as well. So
for sure,
here is your call to action if you're in that boat right now as a listener.
Yes.
So I would say the skill sets are a little bit different for online teaching. So what would you say are the most important skills and qualities, or maybe some characteristics that online teachers might need to have to be, successful online? Because a lot of teachers tell me, I don't like to be in front of a camera. I don't like to share too much of my personal life. So what are some things that you found would be helpful, Tim?
Right. So there's definitely a little bit of a bridge to cross when you're not familiar with, being on camera. I think most people are a little bit more familiar with that, as the pandemic's kind of brought us all into online spaces for almost everything. But, I do hear that from a lot of teachers. I would say there's a lot of skills and qualities that you learn on the job as you do it. You certainly grow in your ability to use technology. You grow in your ability to engage your students online, and in terms of just your business as a whole, and how you can grow that, whether it's working for a company and then stepping away from that, or doing it on your own. But I think there's three skills that I think teachers need to think about when they're getting into it, and those are being self-motivated. So I think it's important that if you're wanting to work from home, build your own schedule, go out there and build a teaching business. I think you really need to be self-motivated. I think you need to have goals in mind as well, and be goal focused. So think about what you want to achieve out of it and where you want to be, and set those goals, because nobody's setting them for you. And then a growth mindset, which kind of goes along with what I was talking about with just all the skills that you will learn while you're teaching online. If you have a growth mindset and you're a lifelong learner, then you're going to pick up skills along the way and upskill yourself and want to be a better online teacher. So I think those are the types of teachers that do well.
These are some good messages and some important phrases that we've been hearing a lot, and it's good to hear them, re-emphasized by you, to be open to new things, trying new things, learning through failure.
Yeah, definitely.
Having a growth mindset. So what are the most common challenges that the teachers that you work with face when they start out their journey or they're going through that journey, and how could they be overcome?
Right. Well, I think, in terms of challenges, I guess we could talk about like the technology challenges and things like that, but those can certainly be overcome. There's a phrase by, who was it now? I think it's Marie Folio. I think she wrote a book called Everything is Figure Outable. So there really is a way that you can go on YouTube, you can go anywhere and figure out anything nowadays, right? You want to learn whatever it is, gardening, coding, you can go online and figure it out. But there's loneliness, there's isolation, there's struggles that online teachers have that are less visible, and that sort of build up as time goes on. If you aren't really kind of careful in catching it, it can build up. And I've experienced burnout teaching online. I know many others have as well. So it's something to really keep in mind and to recognize when you need to take a break, when you need to step away from it. It will always be there when you want to come back to it. But I would say those are a couple that come to mind. But I really see online teachers have become so resilient through all of the changes that and they've become really great at kind of going with the flow and adapting and all of those things. So yeah, I would probably say loneliness is an isolation, because it is a job where you're just at home, on your computer.
Right. True. So a lot of teachers that we talk to tell us, well, I've started this out, I'm not making enough money, I've got bills to pay. And, I thought this would be, I'd be making X a month and I'm not. And, that they're just starting out in this journey and they feel like they're not, maybe where they want to be, or they're not kind of hitting the goal that they visualize. So what advice would you give to those teachers, and maybe how could they kind of identify or look at ways to approach this as a long-term thing? Because it is a long-term thing, right? In your case as well, Tim, it takes time.
Right. So there's definitely online teachers that get into it who want the quick fix, the quick money, maybe 6 months to a year, and then they want to get out. And then there's definitely the teachers that are like, I want to build a business out of this, and I want this to be a long-term thing. So I think both groups tend to enter things a little bit differently, but I feel like in my experience in dealing with online teachers, a lot of teachers get frustrated very quickly when they can't get hired with a company, or they can't, or they're not making the money that they want to make, all those kinds of things. So it's important to know that there is a space for, I believe, everyone out there. It's just a case of really finding out who you want to teach and where your passions lie, and think a little bit outside the box in terms of what you might already know about online teaching. So, for example, some teachers, will apply to the well-known companies that pay $10 an hour. Maybe they don't get hired for some silly reason, like I don't know, could be whatever. We have no control over that. Or they want to go on a marketplace and list their classes, but they don't really understand who they're teaching. And so they don't have success because there's 1,000 other teachers out there competing against them. Yeah. So, I mean, I would say if you're wanting to do this in the long term, definitely start to get some experience, and it might be at a lower pay, but then also really be always thinking about building your own thing on the side and learning as much as you can, even if that thought is completely overwhelming and scary, which it is in the beginning. Take the steps to work on that a little bit every day, and to set yourself up for longevity in this industry. Because if you're just getting in there to work for a company and make $10 an hour, it's not going to last. You're going to burn out. You're not going to make the money that you want to make, or that you're worth, or that you should be paid. So, be kind of building your own thing on the side, and network with good teachers as well out there. Like, there's 1,000 Facebook groups. 99% of them are kind of not the best because they're just full of spam or disgruntled teachers and things like that. But connect with, find a group of teachers, maybe with the company that you're with, wherever, and learn from them and ask questions and just network. I think, the best opportunities come when you're connected with other people.
Yes, so. I agree. Great advice. And, again, for our listeners, we have so many wonderful teachers that we've networked with and found through whatever we do. So, it's a good practice to do the same. So you've kind of touched on it a little bit, but how can teachers who are teaching online, how can they differentiate themselves and stand out in a crowded market? You've kind of said, know your learners, know who you want to teach, but what are some other ways you can really, stand out from the crowd and identify your niche or a expert area?
Right. So, as I said, I think there's room for everyone. Some people message me or email me and they feel like, well, I'm an older teacher, or I'm this ethnicity, and, I'm just not getting the results that I want. And I often ask them, well, what are you doing and who are you targeting? And those kinds of things. And generally their answers are really vague. So I think in terms of, you were asking about standing out, right? Mm-hmm. So I think the teachers that stand out are the ones that really treat this as a business, right, and that want to grow and scale their income. And so they're doing this by thinking outside the box. Maybe they're offering something that's unique that others aren't offering. Look, if you're teaching English online, for example, there's tens of thousands of other people that are doing that. Exactly. But what are some ways that you can still teach English online, but maybe with a slightly different angle, or you're maybe able to offer something that is a little bit more flexible for the student, or it's group classes, or it's like a different kind of experience. But even before you get into those kinds of things, you really need to know your niche. You really need to know the student that you're trying to target. And I would say, if you're trying to stand out, I would look at it as like, how can you make more money and do this for a longer period of time? And I think you do that by niching down and getting specific on who you want to teach. So that would be the advice I would give someone that's like wanting to stand out a little bit. But I always think that there's room for everyone. It's there's learners all over the world wanting to learn from all different kinds of teachers. It's just a case of, always being a lifelong learner and upskilling yourself. So those are some other things that people can do as well to kind of stand out. Like if a parent or student is trying to choose between a few different teachers, are they going to choose the teacher that doesn't have any training or skills in a particular area or experience, or are they going to choose the one that's, been doing it for a little while and shows that they are a little bit ahead of the game? Yeah. So obviously the second.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Great. So I know you're very, very active in terms of promoting technology and tools for teachers to help them. So what are some essential tools that you think online teachers should use, and, some that work specifically well for you maybe and your teachers that you work with?
Like specific technology tools? Okay. Again, it's like another thing where there's just like endless options, right? It's so, and
maybe if I'm just getting started as a teacher, what are some tools that I should maybe take some time to, learn about or get familiar with maybe? Yeah.
Right. So I would always say to a brand new online teacher to keep it really simple and to not feel like you have to go out and spend a lot of money. So I would keep it really simple. There's so many free tools out there. I got started using, like, it's just crazy to think about. I still have the application Skype on my computer.
Yep, I did that too.
Yeah, it's like, I think I only use it now for phoning international numbers because I'm overseas, but because I can put credit on there and use it. But yeah, so things like that. But I would, Zoom is obviously a very popular, widely used tool for just video conferencing. It wasn't designed for online teaching and learning, but it is a way that a lot of teachers get started. So it's a safe way of doing it. You don't have to really pay unless you want extended time in your classes. I think it's 40 minutes for free. I would, what else would I recommend? That's one of the main ones in terms of like tools or softwares that someone needs to think about is where are you going to teach? I would I wouldn't even really invest in too much technology in the beginning. I tell people to keep it really simple because it can be overwhelming. And if people think they need to pay for a lot of things, then it deters them sometimes. Like, oh,
Yes.
I don't have the funds right now. I'm not even making any money yet. So,
Right.
and if they want to be a teacherpreneur and build a business, then another tool that I use daily for my work with teachers and social media is Canva. I know you're probably
Yes.
familiar with that. Who isn't? That doesn't create anything
Mm-hmm.
online nowadays, but that's a great tool just to learn how to make maybe graphics, flyers to advertise yourself. Even you can make websites now in Canva.
Pretty much everything.
Lesson
Yeah.
planning, yeah. So it's, once you get into it and get comfortable with it, it's really easy to use. There's lots of templates, but it's a nice way of maybe making some things that help you to stand out a little bit professionally in the beginning. So
Wonderful. Yeah, those are good.
yeah, those are a
Good
couple
piece of
tools.
advice and good tips. I think so. And get familiar with them, be comfortable with them, and then you can go from there. Basically, yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
So, you do have a lot of offerings to teachers. You do help a lot of ESL teachers. So, what are some of the courses that you offer, and kind of how do you structure those, and what's the kind of goal of those courses that you do offer to other teachers, Tim?
Right. So I started with a free course. I call it the Online Teacher Bootcamp course. And that is just a series of lessons and modules that kind of allowed me a space to really actually take everything that I had learned and the questions I answer every day and put it into video format.
Mm-hmm.
So I could say, hey, I think you'd be great to just take this, go through a few of these lessons. It's going to really help you. And I give lots of examples. And then I branched off, and my main course right now is a course called Launch Going Solo. And in the last 2 years, I've offered it in sort of a live component with feedback, accountability groups, group coaching, communication with me, things like that. And it helps someone kind of transition from a company or start from scratch into teacherpreneurship, mainly with the Chinese market. So I've got a couple of other little things on the side that I sell as well, but those are the main ones.
Cool. And you can
But
get
that's been
started for
really
free.
fun.
So I'll be sure to share that with our listeners. So have a look in the description, and you can obviously access that for free and get started because it's really
Yeah,
useful and
definitely.
valuable. So yeah, I'll be sure to
Yeah.
share that.
Thanks,
So
Daniel.
yeah, that's fine. So I know you've worked with quite a few teachers. Could you share maybe one or two success stories of some teachers you've worked with, and kind of how you help them to reach their goals or to be teacherpreneurs like yourself?
Yeah, I would all the lady that comes to mind all the time. There's been many, but
Mm-hmm.
my friend Julie,
Mm-hmm.
Julie Gara, she's over 70 years old, and she was a teacher that had worked with companies for ages.
Wow.
She really struggled with technology. She didn't have a smartphone like we all do. She had a flip phone, an old school Nokia. She had never done anything online outside of just working for this particular company. And she went through my course, and she was an incredible inspiration because of how she just didn't let those stumbling blocks impede her. Like, she just
Right.
took everything that we did and she said, okay, I'm going to put this into action. I'm going to spend 30 minutes every day learning this new tool. And she continues to amaze me. She just implemented group classes, I think, recently. She's getting more students. She's charging, 45 something dollars an hour. She always says her life has changed ever since she made the decision to break away from companies and to go out on her own. So she's my big success story, but I've got many, but she's a really great one because of her age specifically. She really inspires a lot of older teachers. So if you've got, if there's anyone that's older watching, like, you're never too old to start this. And
Yes.
don't let people tell you, really, it could go for anything, not just age, but ethnicity, background, where you come from, what your life experiences are like. If you believe in yourself, you can do it.
If you're passionate about this and you enjoy this and you feel like this is something you want to do, then there's nothing to hold you back, and don't let any stumbling blocks deter you. Basically, that's a great point.
Yeah, totally. So anyway, I did an interview with her on my channel. So if you guys want to watch,
Yeah,
If
we
you want
should
to
take a
watch
look at that.
that, she'll inspire the pants off you. Her name's
Amazing.
Julie Gara. Yeah.
So,
So
what do you see as the future of online teaching and learning? We've got this AI revolution that's happening now. People are quite worried in some ways, some are quite excited. How do you think this is going to kind of impact the industry and change things going forward?
yeah, good question. But I think there'll always be a need for online teachers that I can see, and I think that we're just seeing more and more teachers become entrepreneurial and realize the benefits and just the opportunity in building your own business. But I think that this whole AI stuff is going to also blend with that, and I think though that it could be. I don't fear it. I think it's definitely interesting, and I'm still learning about it myself, but
Hmm.
I'm not using any of it yet. But I've sort of been thinking about, well, how can this AI help and support online teachers?
Yes,
I think it's gonna there'll always be a blend of that with us as humans. So I don't
I
worry
think
about
so.
that too
I
much.
think we got to
Too much.
embrace it, right? And then try to use it in a
Yeah,
positive way as a tool to help us do things more productively or more efficiently, as opposed to thinking it's going to take all of
exactly.
our
And
jobs.
I think we'll look back on it in 20, 30 years and forget that there was that sort of time when it was kind of scary, but I think it'll just become normal, just like,
So,
a
yeah,
lot of things with
no,
the internet.
I hope so. I think we need to look at it
Hmm.
positively for sure. Okay, great.
Yeah.
So Tim, how can our listeners find out more about you, what you offer, and how can they connect with you online?
Great. Yeah. So online teacher dude everywhere. YouTube mainly is where I create content. And then my website is onlineteacherdude.com if you want to grab that free course or, get connected with me or learn more about online teaching. It's all there. So
Amazing. That's great. Yeah,
yeah.
I'll put all of the links in the description underneath the episode, so feel free to check that out. And thank you so much for joining us today, Tim. Really enjoyed the chat.
Thanks, Daniel. It was really great to connect. Thanks, everyone.
All right. Thank you, Tim, for joining us today and sharing your expertise, insights, and your experience in this field of helping online ESL teachers, working with them and supporting them in their journey as teachers as well. I really think if you haven't found out about Tim or haven't seen what he does, do feel free to search, for his content online on Facebook, on YouTube. You can find some really useful guides, videos, and ways to improve your skills as an online ESL teacher. And also just to join his community as well, because there are a lot of really knowledgeable teachers in there who'd be happy to support you if you do have any questions with making that leap and having your own online teaching business. All right, if you would like to be a guest on a future episode of ESL Talk, you can do that really easily just by visiting our website, esl-talk.com. There's a button at the top which says Be a Guest. You can just click on that, put in a few details, and we'd love to have you on a future episode to share your passion, your projects, what you're working on in the English language and in English teaching, and we'd love to support that and help promote that for you. Also, there is now a link to our YouTube channel, so if you would like to subscribe, we'd really appreciate that as well, and it really helps us as well to get our message out there and to grow. And again, all the previous episodes are on there, so you can just cycle through them, take a look, and find whatever it is you're interested in. We've covered a lot of different topics at this stage, and we're growing all the time, so a huge thank you for your support and to help us continue to grow like this. So we'll be back next week for another new episode. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram at ESL Talk Podcast. Thank you so much. We'll see you next week. Bye bye.